Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? Happy New Year. Let's get it going. Oof. Shout out to Regine. Shout out to Chris Whitlock. Shout out to Ty. Shout out to Space Tacos. Thanks for joining me. We'll talk a little bit about GovRAMP tonight. I think I like it better when it was called State Ramp, but you know how we do it. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. I don't be like Mr. Whitlock. We talk for 20 minutes. I don't know about the I don't know about the goat. Appreciate you. You know how we do it. Give me a one in the chat. Give me a one in the chat. Oh man. Happy Monday. Oof. Happy New Year to Space Tacos. I appreciate that, Regine. Let's get going. Keep it short. I like the 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just want to pull this off the GovRAMP site. The organizations below are working with GovRAMP to recognize a common standard for cybersecurity, especially in the States. Shout out to Jeffrey Johnson. So we definitely gonna get into it. When I was working as the state of Indiana as a consultant, the issue was the big states. It's all good. Actually posted on LinkedIn to go PBS outreach. It's all good. It's all good. No worries. No worries. So when I worked at the state, specifically the state of Indiana, the big 20 agencies had cybersecurity. The problem is your smaller and mid-sized agencies were struggling with cybersecurity. The issue with that is um, we were all in the state network. So if you hacked the museum or DNR or small business association, they were on the state network. So they try to figure out what's the baseline for all the state security, right? You want a common baseline, but of course, people know I do IRS stuff, so they will have a higher level of security. Health and hospital, right, for HIPAA and high trust. Um, FBI was CJIS, but I guess the question is, what's the baseline for all the agencies in the state? And this is how GovRAMP, which used to be named State Ramp. I actually like State Ramp better. So if you look currently, those are the states that are actually signed up. I'm calling my state right there is Indiana. You can see it. It's most of the United States, probably about 60%. And I presume the rest of the states are going to sign up because you need some level of security, right? So if you're getting into GRC or doing GRC, understanding GovRAMP/State Ramp will help because once again, I think it's one of the bigger compliance. And we all know it sits on top of my favorite, NIST 800-53, and we're going to dig into that a little more. Everybody know I'm an 800-53. So you see it right there, GovRAMP, Government Risk Authorization and Management Program, is a standardized cloud security assessment and authorization framework used by state, local, tribal, and territorial governments. So you'll see that the SLTT is for that. I always forget about the tribal part of that. Think of it as FedRAMP for states and local government. It helps governments avoid duplicative security reviews, reuse trust cloud security authorization, and buy a cloud service faster and more safely. Because if not, each state's going to need to do a third party assessment. Each state is going to need to do a review. So what they wanted to do, kind of like FedRAMP and NIST, FISMA, and High Trust, once the software gets stamped, it's already approved. You as a state and local government knows it's passed the security review, security assessment. So you can just buy that particular software. And that's why a lot of vendors would like to get this certification / compliance. Appreciate your time with the one. Once again, it's FedRAMP for states and local governments. I like it because GovRAMP, State Ramp, Texas Ramp is another. They're all based on this 800-53. So you have a leg up and comfortable with that security assessment. Why GovRAMP exists? Before GovRAMP, every state city did its own cloud security review. Vendors had to answer 50 different questionnaires. Procurement was slow and inconsistent. GovRAMP fixes this by providing a shared assessment standard, reusable security authorization, and alignment with my favorite, NIST 800-53. There's an independent 30-party assessment to make sure everything is approved and above board. I was waiting for you to say that because facts. That's why I like it. My only issue with GovRAMP, we get into that. StateRAMP actually was built on the STIGs for security hardening. This one, you can do the CIS checks. I always speak so negatively of the CIS checks. Shout out to CIS. So, I'm a 53 STIG guy. What GovRAMP is based on is built on my favorite, this 800-53. Let's be super specific. Revision 5 for the core control set. FedRAMP is moderate and high baseline. Third-party assessments, aka the 3 PAOs. Continuous monitoring requirement. If you understand FedRAMP, GovRAMP is very, very familiar. So once again, I try to stay in that NIST 800-53 family. Shout out to CMMC. Get my big head out the way. The GovRAMP authorizations, GovRAMP level. If you authorize low, it's below FedRAMP low, public or low risk. If you moderate, that's the area I usually live in. You're equivalent to FedRAMP moderate. PII, SIEGES, which is FBI State Police. Internal Gov data, which is IRS, once again, SIEGES, FBI, most of those standard HIPAA, high trust to be in that area. And if you high, meaning you're a nuclear codes or life and death, sensitive gov workloads. I've only worked with high probably twice that I remember. Once again, I do a lot of IRS work, so it's in that FedRAMP model. Once again, if you got any statements or questions, put them in the chat. GovRAMP status types, important distinctions if you're ready. The vendor assessments in progress. If you authorize, security review completed and approved. If you're in process, controls being validated. If you're inactive, authorization has expired or withdrawn. I very rarely see expired or withdrawn because if you went through it once, you're going to try to hold on to it. Once again, it's a great designation because it makes you easier to sell to states. You saw that states, local, territorial, and tribal. And two, if you GovRAMP, you super close to FedRAMP. So I think with a few more controls, you can definitely get there. What vendors must provide, and this is us as part of GRC. What we need to do as an assessment. Shout out to Space Tacos. Definitely a assessor extraordinaire. So these are the things we would have to give to Space Tacos if we was trying to get our GovRAMP. The big and beautiful big and beautiful system security plan, control implementation details of our NIST 800-53, our SAR, our security assessment report, our POA&M, plan, action, and milestone, continuous monitoring artifacts, and our incident response documentation. Of course, we will have an incident response exercise to go on there with the documentation. This is where GRC and audit experience really matters, right? This is us. It really matters, right? So us is GRC assessment, third party. I do a lot of internal assessment, means I get the organization ready for Space Tacos to come in as a 3PAO, third party assessor outside. PBO's job is to get the documentation ready so we can pass with flying colors. Shout out to me. Let's keep rolling. Who use GovRAMP? States, CIO and CISO's office, counties and cities, universities, school districts, public utilities. And when you say states, all states usually have a BMV, Department of Revenue, where you pay your state taxes. Health and hospitals, because they're reviewing their state hospitals. So there's a lot of probably 10 big state agencies that was going to be GovRAMP approved. Once again, even though I did IRS, the IRS, a lot of times we still harmonize with GovRAMP. Why would we harmonize with both? Is internal as a state, I had to send data to BMV. I had to send data to universities. When you do a Department of Revenue, which are your state taxes, if you don't pay your state bills like BMV, you got a couple parking tickets, didn't pay for your license, we're taking your state tax return. You owe the university some money, no state tax return for you. So we were the bill collector. So since we send data to all those other agencies, we want to make sure we're at the same security. A lot of times the base security inside your state agencies would be GovRAMP, aka state ramp. So once again, I think this is a valuable compliance, something you kind of need to understand at a high level. Once again, though, it's NIST 800-53. Your vendors, your SaaS platform, government cloud service providers, gov tech company, data platforms, identity, finance. We were talking about that. HR, health, public safety systems, right? These vendors are building those systems. They need to be GovRAMP approved so they can be stamped at the security level states need you at. And like again, a couple bigger states or bigger agencies, we need bigger security. But once again, a good baseline is GovRAMP. Once again, that's a heavy lift because that's 20 security families. I think me and Chris looked at it was about 1,100 controls when you drill down to a moderate. So it's a heavy lift, not for the weak. What's the difference? Area scope. GovRAMP is usually state and local. FedRAMP is usually, of course, federal agencies. Control base, my favorite, NIST 800-53 on both of those. Who does the assessments from your externals, aka the space tacos in the world? We're going to hit your 3PAOs. I got a slide that lists 10 or 12 of those 3PAOs. So once you learn this, you can actually apply it to those companies and ask for work. Right. Make sure, though, your credit score is good. They're going to do a credit background. No felonies. And they probably, which I kind of got, I'm going to be transparent. I got hung up on, I always pay my taxes late. They actually got me hung up on a security check one time. Pay your taxes, state and federal, on time. Let's see what my man Sergio has to say. Hello, Professor. Sorry I'm late. All good. Let's see. Once again, authorization. We talked about the SLTT versus the Fed, state, local, territorial. So that's it. The federal cost lower than FedRAMP is GovRAMP, and FedRAMP is high. Most of the times when you start getting 3PAOs on there, it gets expensive. Speed, GovRAMP is going to be faster. FedRAMP is going to be slower. So a lot of times when I work with small and mid-sized companies, I know they look at federal work first. I tell them, let's go GovRAMP first. We could get to market. We could start making money. And once again, it's a natural build-up because they both 800-53. GovRAMP is more lower security, which probably 300 or 400 checks. Moderate with FedRAMP is once again gonna be about 1,100 checks. So once again, you got to go to low. You got to get your low handle before you go to moderate. So I like to tell a lot of vendors, if you're going to get your feet wet, go for the GovRAMP, then roll on into FedRAMP. I appreciate you. I always catch a replay, but I love you. I appreciate that. We're going to do another governance AI video on Friday. Come check us out. We're going to talk about the OWASP of AI with large language models. So that's coming this Friday. So come check us out. I appreciate you checking me out on the replay. Let's keep going. Once again, faster versus slower. And two, once again, those checks you're building up. And two is I like to get the GovRAMP because then we get the organization ready. Part of the 3PL shout out, I keep giving Space Tacos a shout out is some of those tests, they're going to have to interview your cloud team, your infrastructure team, your CIO and your CISO. So GovRAMPs kind of gets them ready for that procedure. And two, we train our workforce to get comfortable with interviewing, right? We don't want to lie, but we don't want to give out too much information in the interview, right? So what's the specific amount of information you should give in an interview? And two is you get comfortable. So where is your incident response documentation? Who should you call in an incident? Where's your policies and procedures? When did you last take your security awareness? Where's your security awareness documentation at? Right. So we want to get comfortable with us interviewing you. So when you get ready for the federal, which is much harder, once again, your organization knows where that documentation is, know how to answer questions, comfortable with you, right? With that. And that's part of, once again, as GRC, getting people ready for an external assessment. How do you get ready? Get them ready for external assessment with a 3PL. You do an internal assessment, right? So kind of asking them the same questions. And we're going to look at one of the spreadsheets, templates I pulled off of GovRAMP. They have excellent templates. So a lot of times I take templates out of here and cut them down from smaller organizations. Once again, get ready to build them up. Okay, I appreciate it. That'd be great. I'm targeting agile twins. So I really need it. No, me too. I'm not to say I'm targeting. I just want to be more comfortable with AI, especially from a, like you said, a GRC perspective. We talked about the model card last time and learning those particular artifacts you need for an AI assessment. So once again, we're gonna build on that. How Gov fits with other framework. GovRAMP aligns with CGIS, RSPub 1075. That's my favorite one, to be honest. HIPAA, SOC 2, BOO to ISO 2701, CMMC partial overlap. This makes it attractive for multi-regulated vendors. And we all know CGIS and RSPub 1075 is built on top of 800-53. Once again, once you do GovRAMP, I hate this term. You got to harmonize a lot of times because when I was working with the state revenue department, we had to have IRS, we had to have CGIS because we were sharing data with the state police. We had to have FERPA because once again, if you didn't pay your university bill, we were taking your state tax return. So once again, we got to harmonize and have overlaps with multi-regulated vendors. And I think when you talk about bigger companies, a lot of times once again, they multi-regulated. Or if you're working for a big security firm, like everybody know I love AWS. They got every certification on the man. They got CGIS, they got Brazil, PIPA, GDPR, CCPA. They got so many of these frameworks. So you as a GRC, when you move into bigger companies, you have to be familiar with multiple frameworks. Once again, I kind of cheat because I do 800-53. Once again, GovRAMP is built on 853, CGIS, RSPub 1075. It's probably 10 other frameworks that's built on or is a subset of 800-53. So once again, that's kind of one reason that's one of my the favorite security framework. Shout out to Chris. When he first got out here, he was trying to learn every framework known to man. PBO told him that's incorrect. All right, so let's pick one, master it, then all the other ones kind of build on top of it. Once again, so if you do 800-53, you see just IRS. CMC is actually NIST 171, which is a subset of that. So if you, once again, if you're 53, you probably got 5 or 6 frameworks you're really comfortable with. What GovRAMP actually requires for hardening. People know I love hardening. People know my favorite hardening is the sticks. Most people don't like the sticks though. So and most of the time I do schisms, which is actually the IRS's sticks. A lot easier to use. Most people use CIS benchmarks level 1, which I don't think is really enough security. Now, when you're talking about using AI to attack companies and governments, I think you should be at least CIS level 2. But once again, kind of minor issues. So GovRAMP actually requires hardening. GovRAMP expects you to prove that systems are securely configured, baseline control, continuously monitor, and consistently enforce. My big issue with that is GovRAMP used to be StateRAMP. StateRAMP specifically named the STIGs. So I think when they went to GovRAMP, they got a little softer. They easing up. The bad guys aren't easing up. China's not easing up. So I'm not happy with GovRAMP. I'm going to write them a sternly worded email tomorrow. We need to be specifically on the STIG. So once again, these are acceptable hardening sources. They're all valid. CIS benchmarks, which they say is commonly common and preferred. PBO is going to boo them. Boo. This is STIGs, my favorite, acceptable. Cloud provider baseline, AWS, Azure, GCP. I use AWS. They have their config performance pack, and they actually name GovRAMP, StateRAMP, CMMC. Then they tell you what you need to harden inside your tenant to get you to that level of security. So once again, when they say cloud provider baseline, each one of those clouds has what they believe is a baseline for GovRAMP. Internal hardening standards and vendor security guidelines. Let's see. So my man Sergio said, I have a lot of experience with Azure. Systems work for a tier 1 hyperscaler, but this year I will want to load up. I feel you. I've been getting a ton of AWS certs, so I need to start doing some more Azure. So that's on my list for this year too, for me to get a little better with Azure. Yep. Shout out to the tier 1 hyperscaler. And once again, like you need to be multi compliance, meaning you're comfortable with NIST 800, NIST 171, CJIS hires plus 1075. You need to be comfortable in multi-cloud, especially from a GRC perspective, right? The cool thing is most of the clouds have overlapping security benchmarks, how they secure the clouds, very similar. It's just their terminology is different. Shout out to my man Dan L for joining. See what my man Larry said. PBO's hot dogs hits me on YouTube. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Shout out to my Allen consultant. Once again, Dan L in the house. But once again, you should be comfortable from a GRC perspective with these hardening techniques. Once again, different compliances. Once again, I will be familiar with CIS benchmarks, level 1 and level 2. Shout out for Chris. He's got I forgot he put out his program. I can't even think of the name of it. I'm so tired. But he went through and put the checks inside the Trello board. So he has the Trello boards. Check out Study GRC. He has the CIS, I think level 1 and 2. I know he has the NIST 800-53, which should kind of lay out the STIG checks on there. And once again, AWS and Azure has their own provider. So once again, you got to harmonize between those to make sure when you scan, you can pass the CIS benchmark or distance STIGs or once again, a cloud provider. Once again, we need to harmonize with all those and kind of pick out the most secure piece of that. and make sure it translates to the other compliances. Because a lot of times you're gonna have multi-assessments. Like we had a state board of general accounts for the state. We had the IRS come in. We had HIPAA and high trust coming in because once again we were taking taxes and taking it for hospitals. So once again that put us on there. Of course, PCI, everybody's taking credit cards. So once again, you want to make sure what you're doing, you can handle a multi-level assessment. Once again, especially from a 3PAO or third-party assessment. What is your gov level? We just talked about that. Low, cloud baseline only with justifications. If you're a moderate, you're going to have cloud baseline plus the CIS. That's the most common. Boo. We don't like the CIS, especially CIS level 1. High, CIS level 2 are the STIGs plus strong enforcements. We want to be high, right? Because we know the bad guys are coming. And if we get hacked, we want to say we weren't negligent. We were doing high, right? We were doing high level security. So once again, those are the levels. And 2 is as you build up your security program. A lot of times when I start with the organization, I will say, let's do a cloud baseline only the first year. Then the second year, let's get to moderate. Let's add the CIS level 1. Third year, let's level CIS level 1 plus level 2. Before we get to STIGs, I probably do schisms. Then fourth or fifth year, let's go ahead and step it up to the STIGs where we're at that, once again, high level security. We ain't to be played with. So let's see. Get ready for quantum computing risk management. Facts, the wave is coming faster than expected. Business not even thinking about it. More and more systems are being tapped. No, with AI quantum. No, you're correct. Shout out to my man Chris. He probably went to bed. He'd be up at 4 a.m. He's been talking about quantum for a while, right? I actually brought up the NIST new cryptography. They tell you what you need to, what cryptography you need to pick, so you won't be susceptible to AI quantum. But no, you're right on, Sergio. But PBO's been touching on quantum a little bit. I think I got a couple of videos talking about what encryption they use for quantum. I take that back. It was embedded in one of my cloud videos. But shout out to AWS. They actually have quantum cryptography. Of course, you got to pay for it, but they got it. Just talking about some of the GovRAMP basic features here. Shout out to Chris. But yeah, Chris been talking about quantum. I thought he was early, man. I was getting on him, man. I'm like, dude, we barely doing CIS level 1, and Chris was talking about quantum. So I'm going to give shout out to Chris. He was on a quantum. So we were talking about kind of a roadmap. How would you get ready for the GovRAMP and their risk acceptance? We always talking about the model. Number 1, they would do a quick snapshot for you. He put the quantum checks in there for the cryptography. Appreciate you, Chris. So 1, we would do a NIST MITRE, score of 40 controls. We all know MITRE is that red team third-party assessment, how the nation states will attack you. Then 2 is progressing the snapshot. We would do the 40 controls plus a monthly advisory plus quarterly snapshot updates. Then the core status is assessment of 60 controls plus a PMO quarterly con-mon, which stands for continuous monitoring. So for me, I like to use AWS config. It goes through your AWS infrastructure. You can give it a compliance check. I've done a couple of videos and it tells you what percentage are you successful or not successful. In this 800-53, CMMC 171, I think StateRAMP was on there. So it'll tell you continuous monitoring where you at. Ready status, we would have 80 NIST controls by third-party assessment, monthly con-mon, an annual assessment plus your documentation. And when you're ready to have be authorized and a provisional status, you would need 300 plus NIST control by 3PAO, your monthly con-mon, your annual assessment plus your documentation, meaning you're ready. Once again, you're certified and authorized to do business at the GovRAMP. And if you're there, hell, you might as well go and step on over to FedRAMP because you're super close. Let's see what my man Sergio said. I brought that up in a turning meeting with my corporate executives so we could prepare for our customers with our delivery. And everyone turned and asked me to be quiet, shaking my hand, can't fix it. No, but you did the right things. You made them aware of it. They know the risk, and once again, it's their risk to accept or take, right? But once again, that's what bureaucracy is. And two is I make it easier, Sergio. Just tell them put it on a roadmap. You got it on documentation. They can say do it from 2 years from now. Yeah, I know you was talking about the quantum thing. So I just tell people, the executives, I handle the roadmap. What things from a POA&M perspective, which is plan, action, and milestones. Shout out to my PM Larry in the house, so we can get Larry on the PM. We get our plan, action, and milestone, and we just put it on a milestone. It could be 2 years from now, Sergio, but it will be on a milestone that when are we going to try to implement quantum cryptography inside our app, right? Once again, so like I said, it's their risk to accept. I just make it on a roadmap so people don't forget, right? And two is if an auditor comes in and asks us why we're not talking about it, if it's on a roadmap, we can at least say we accepted the risk right now of not putting in quantum cryptography, but it's on the map and we're going to get there. Once again, here's the states that are doing GovRAMP. My state's in there, Indiana, doing it big. So once again, I think most of these states are going to fall in line because as a state agency, all your agencies, big, medium, and small, need to be at some compliance level. So that low compliance level where everybody meets the bare minimum could be GovRAMP. It could be CIS, right? CIS has benchmark. CIS has policies, procedure in there, a home security program. So pick something, once again, so your state at least won't be negligent because you pick something. So we're going to look at this, the GovRAMP authorized process. We talked a little bit about that. Become a GovRAMP member. Basically, you got to pay your money, join there. Then we looked at the kind of flow of their roadmap. Submit security snapshot request. Here we roll back. Let's see, that's 16. We were looking at that here. Your snapshot is right there. That's kind of what this is going to kind of roll through that. Your snapshot was step 2. Determine your appropriate security category. Before engaging in your 3PO or submitting documentation for review, you must determine your appropriate GovRAMP impact level, low plus, medium, or high, to visit the prospective state or local government partners. If you are unsure, you may use data classification tool. That's the data classification tool. And in the future videos, we're going to download these one at a time and actually go through the tool and use the tool, right? I think a lot of people wants me to show my labs when I do them. This will be some of the labs we'll do in the future, right? Let's look at their classification tool. We're going to look at one of my favorite spreadsheets I pulled out. And once again, I have a ton of templates and a ton of tools. Engage your third party when you're ready. Review the list of the approved assessment. Engage with your third party to complete your SAR, your security assessment report. And remember, they're charging you for this, so you want to get in and get out, right? You want to have all your documentation, your inventory, your boundaries, your interconnections, your interconnection to third parties. All that documentation should be ready. So when your 3PAO hits the ground running, we know. Shout out to Space Taco. She's very expensive, right? She's a top auditor. So when she hits the ground running, you got to pay for it. So we want to make sure this is easy and painless as possible for Steak Tacos. But we got to get Space Tacos in there. Complete your authorized review documentation and your SRR. Once you engage your 3PO, you must complete 100% of your documentation before the assessor can submit your GovRAMP SAR, security assessment report to your GovRAMP project management office. So once again, you're submitting your third party to their office to approve, right? GovRAMP is, there are people going to get it after the third party signs off on it. They still have to approve it at the GovRAMP PMO office. Before you can submit completed documentation to GovRAMP PMO security team, you must complete a GovRAMP review request form and receive complete documentation and payment of your GovRAMP authorized review fee, right? You got to pay GovRAMP to review it. We'll update your status on authorized list to pending, right? Once you pay your money, you're pending. That don't mean you're going to pass. That means you're pending, right? So make sure we get it all together, right? Once again, that's what GRC does. That's our value add. We want to make sure our organization is ready. Get it to our 3PL Space Tacos. They sign off on it. Then we send it off to the GovRAMP PMO office for the final okay. Obtaining government sponsorship or committee to achieve GovRAMP authorization status must have an authoring government official approve the security package. You may choose to secure the government sponsorship on your own or leverage GovRAMP committee. The approval committee, composed of active states, local representatives, can elect to serve as the provider appointed sponsorship or confirm their security package meets all GovRAMP requirements. So what does that mean? You got to remember, when a state approves it, any state can use it. So a lot of times they want a state to say they're using this particular software and they want it approved for so other states can use it, right? If you can't find a state that's going to be your sponsoring, once again, you can actually have a GovRAMP sponsor for a fee, right? So they're the governing body. They would bring your software in, say it's approved, and once again, any other state could buy it because once again, they did the security review. It's in their security package. You can actually download the package and review it from their security review. Most times, though, people have those type of compliance assessment approval. Most companies and states don't do security reviews on top of them. I do. I don't trust anybody, but I've seen most of the times if they had those reviews, because I have people tell me, "Why are you doing a review when we already had this review?" That's a good point. I don't trust them, right? So once again, that's one reason you get that review, so you won't have to have duplicate resources. Once again, a relook at the package. Obtain the government authorized verification status. Your 3PO attests to your readiness. The GovRAMP PMO office verifies that your product meets all the mandatory requirements and critical controls, and all outstanding issues and queries have been resolved. Your security status on the APO will be updated to authorized. The GovRAMP provisional status may be assigned by a sponsoring government if you submitted a security package for consideration and are found to meet the most security requirements. Providers with provisional status must comply with continuous monitoring requirements, while additional assessment may be required to obtain your authorized status. Once again, if you get to a certain level, we're always talking about working at risk. There, you say your security product is secure enough from their provisional review, or maybe you just have a few things you're working on, right? And some state, territorial, or tribal wants to use it, they will be able to use it with your provisional status. Begin your continuous monitoring activities. Once you obtain your authorized status, you must begin submitting the required documents monthly and annually, reporting as detailed in the GovRAMP continuous monitoring. So once again, they want to know where you're at. You don't have drift, meaning you don't all suddenly have cat ones or criticals inside your apps. Once again, we use AWS Config, Rapid7, Nexus, and QualSys can be used for continuous monitoring. So that's kind of what we're doing. Here, let me drop the link. Kind of tighten it up a little bit. And once again, what we kind of went through really is a security program. So if you have a mature program, you're doing all of this even if it's internal, right? So I have a package. I usually give it to the compliance director, the CIO, or the CISO, or all three, right? So they're reviewing what I've got. I have a POA&M. I usually have a spreadsheet that says these are our findings. This is the impact level, high, medium, low, critical, whatever compliance we're using. I usually do high, medium, low. Those are usually the standard NIST and this is STIG terms. Then two is if it's a high, I got 30 days to fix it. If it's a medium, I got 60. I think if it's a low, I think I got 120. Two is that tells me what teams I need to be working with. And a lot of times when I tell people we're talking about security and priorities and those type of things, that list from the POA&M is going to tell me what's our security, what's our level, and what we need to be fixing. A lot of times I got to put time. Once I put time with stuff, it's going to tell me how much money, right? If I need 4 developers and a full-time equivalent at this company is $120 an hour, the developer might be making 60 an hour, lights, laptop. They have all that built into their hourly range. It might come up to $75 or $100 an hour. So if I need 4 programmers a month apiece, right, that could be $20,000, right? So a lot of times you want to start putting money with the schedule. Then shout out to my man Larry. You guys start talking about blockers, who's in front of what do we need to get done? What are there any dependencies from any other area? Do we need to upgrade our Oracle database to advanced security? That's an extra $20,000, right? But those are things you need to lay out. Once again, we start talking about risk, right? Can we fix it? How much is going to cost to fix it, right? Can we get it done at a particular time? Do we have enough resources? Do we have enough talent? If FedRAMP only applies to cloud aspects, true. For example, a company that states they have FedRAMP, yes. Well, yes and no, right? FedRAMP only applies to cloud, but a lot of times when we talk about tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, right? A lot of people are really doing it from their office, even though their office is dialing up to the cloud. All right, and we were talking about using the VDI from AWS, but if people are using company equipment, right now, their company equipment is connecting to the cloud, so I got to make sure what they're using for their company equipment hardening. Are they using CIS? Are they using STIGs? We need to scan of their company OUs inside of Active Directory or AFDS, right, to make sure that connection is. I see you, Chris. But yeah, so it is mostly FedRAMP, and most people get tricked into that. But I always ask, because we talked about it, I always ask, well, how are you connected to the cloud? If you're not connected through a VDI, then your workstations are in scope, right? Are you using some kind of PAM process? How are your privileged users connecting it to them? We know they're doing MFA, but so how they're doing that? But yeah, you got me thinking. PBO tired too. But so I think from an advanced GRC person, the first thing always jumps to your mind is how are you connecting to the cloud? And I think most people miss that. Oh, they're in AWS. Yeah, but if they have a malware on their corporate machines, they're gonna send malware to the cloud, right? So how are we once again locking down our corporate equipment? We definitely not letting you using personal equipment. That is out. All right. So once again, how are we using personal equipment? Then the basis of that, shout out to Chris. We talked about this too at a high level. You gotta get your zero trust running in, right? So now we talk about the health of your hardware, the locations of your hardware, your session of your hardware, and MFA, right? We like to keep those 4 things separate. And we like to validate those too from a zero trust perspective. So I think from high level GRC, most people miss that. Once again, they assume, oh, we're connecting from AWS, we're connecting from Azure, we're connecting from Google, but where are you connecting from? Right? If you connected from your corporate equipment, better, but is your OS up to date? Are you using MFA? What version are you using? Once again, are you using VDI? How are you VPNing into your corporate before you go up to the cloud? Are you using, shout out to, we was talking about AWS Lattice? How are you your middleware, but once again, before you connect to your tenant, before you connect to your back end from a zero trust perspective? And once again, from a GRC senior level perspective, I think we missed connecting into the cloud. Once again, from your corporate PC, zero trust. What's your health of your equipment? Are you using the right version? You using the right malware scanning? Are you VPNing into your corp before you go up to the cloud? Are you using split tunneling or not using split tunneling? I think all that weighs in. I hope you feel better. I'm close to you, even though it's just 8 o'clock here. I'm struggling. I appreciate it. Hope you feel better, Space Tacos. Go check out the treasure troves of Space Tacos. Once again, I'll drop the link if anybody wants to come up. Once again, I think that was an excellent question. I think once again, I think a lot of people miss that from a GRC perspective. How are you connecting into your cloud? Once again, if you got malware on your corporate machine or your personal machine, if you collect into the cloud, we know AWS, they have a lot of security features, but you might have a 0 day on your PC, right? I guess if you have a 0 day, your stuff won't catch it. But once again, we have other security in there. Hopefully to make sure you up to date. So it really would have to be a true 0 day and not a regular one. Let's see. What is your location? What is your location to go over the AWS GRC documentation? Can you elaborate on that? What is location to go? Elaborate a little bit that on for me, Sergio. A lot of people know, and shout out to Chris. They be getting on me. I'm supposed to be working on the CISP. I've been getting AWS certifications. I got a lot of them, so I need to switch over to get on that CISSP. But once again, let's see. Let me pull up let me pull up that StateRAMP snapshot. We were talking about the earlier snapshots. Let's see if I can share it. Let's see if I could share that. That's not it. Is that it? Is that it? Good statement. Oh, I'm trying. Oh no, that's it. Let's see. I'm trying to pull up this. Yeah, that's not going well. Oh, that's it. Let's see. Let's go over. Let me make that a little bigger. So this is the snapshot. We talked about the snapshot earlier. Let's make this a little bigger. Oops. So this at the top, the StateRAMP snapshot, the 2024 one. So we were looking at system description, snapshot worksheet. Remember that level 1 snapshot? I think it was 20 security. So here is the information sheet for the snapshot. Let Let me make sure y'all seeing it while I'm talking. So yeah, that's it. Oh, you good. So that's the system information. So these are the documentation you would get ready. Shout out to Space Taco. She left, but these are the things you would get ready to give to your auditor. So you see the system information, organization and prepare this document, identification of cloud service provider, information security owner, authorization official, template history. So once again, system description. These are the snapshots. We're going to look at a few of these for the criteria. So ACO2, access control. Read the first couple lines. Example of system account types, including individual, shared, group, system, guest, anonymous, emergency, developer, temporary, and service. Identification of authorized system user and the specification of access privilege. And the state rent parameters. Are they 24 hours, 8 hours, quarterly privilege access, annual non-access reviews? So you should be doing access reviews. Once again, this talks about how long they're available and how long they last. And two is how often you review them. The evidence over here. Document of the allowed and prohibited account types, personnel policies and procedures, list of account managers. So once again, these are artifacts we would need to give to Space Tacos. This tells us if we have all the documentation, if it's complete, what percentage of it. And two over here too is the PMO feedback. So once you give this to the PMO, they tell you if you pass or fail, or if the documentation was not concise enough. I like this because once again, it kind of lays it out. And once again, NIST is heavy. You're going to come up probably with about 5,000 pages of documentation. To be honest, the test cases determine if the account types are allowed or prohibited, determine if the account managers are assigned, determining what your organization define for groups and role memberships are required. Service providers define prerequisite or criteria. So a lot of times, what would be prerequisite? You usually have sys and sys admins if you're doing an Oracle database. I think there's a couple admins if you're using a SQL Server. There's built-in admin users that you automatically set up. Once again, they're required. And a lot of times too, you gotta have them at a certain security, certainly password. They expire after a certain length, right? So this is where all the access control and all that documentation comes up. And once again, we're just going to scroll and scroll and scroll. Let's see how many lines we get to. This is smart. It's on 124 lines on that one for text cases. Then here's your state ramp journey. Once again, they have 80 required controls, and state ramp authorized controls is 319. Right. So, and we know those controls can have 10 or 15 sub controls and 10 or 20 tests you need to do on it. Right. So, the two is once you fill it out, it gives you percentage what is done, complete. And two, there's a part on there where state ramp tells you if they accept it or not. But two, internally, us as a GRC team, we need to run these controls in-house internally from internal assessment because we don't want to be surprised. So that was kind of at a high level. So once again, when I talk about having 5,000 controls, that's 319 controls. But once again, each one of those probably has 10 or 15 sub controls to them. Right. So that's kind of how we get them. And once again, from an internal assessment, that's how we will move. I think that's all I had for today. I just kind of wanted to touch on the GovRAMP, which was formerly known as state ramp. I like the other one better, but that's a different talk for a different day. Let's see. So yeah, that's kind of what we were going through when we was walking through that sheet. Those 80 controls, that's already status right there from that sheet. A lot of times, I have templates and spreadsheets to kind of help walk an organizational too. And they're right out there. You can go get it from GovRAMP. a lot of people don't know where they existed. So as you get some for FedRAMP, some for GovRAMP, just kind of put them together and kind of cut them down, because usually I'm doing a medium-sized company and they're not really ready for the 300 plus controls. So get them to 40, get them to 80. And once again, get them comfortable before we get to the 300 plus. Right. Once again, as GRC and internal auditors, we want to make sure the company is ready for when we call out the 3 PAOs, third party assessment organization, that we're paying a lot of money to. We want to make sure we're fully ready to go through that particular, once again, external assessment. Once again, here's the hardening. A lot of people forget the hardening. We talk about policy, procedures, plans, CONMON, continuous controls, but the rubber meets the road is how are we going to harden our infrastructure? How are we going to harden our cloud? What settings do we need to do inside our cloud tenant, once again, to make sure we're I did say Texas ramp, but nah, you correct. Texas ramp is in there. You got Gov ramp, State ramp, and Texas ramp. Nah, but Chris is correct. I think Texas ramp might have said the Stigs. I need to go out there and check it. Boo the Gov ramp. They went away from Stigs. I think they chickened out. They didn't want to stay with the big dog. PBO looking for a pop he shouldn't be drinking. Once again, drop any questions. We're going to wind it on down. PBO tired. Got to get it together. So 2026, we're going to hit AI a little harder. Just kind of ease up into that. Make sure we're comfortable from a GRC perspective. Shout out to my man Sergio for mentioning the quantum. Shout out for Chris for getting the quantum. Where's Chris quantum link at? There it is, the quantum. Shout out to AWS. They do have quantum ciphers out there that you can pick. They're a little more expensive, so but they're out there. Once again, getting ready for the quantum. Yeah, Texas is always trying to be different, man. Shout out to Texas, man. They want to have their own privacy. They want to have their own security. They want to have their own AI regulations. Shout out to Texas doing the most. Once again, drop the link if anybody wants to come up. But once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining me. I'm going to hang out a little longer. See if anybody has any more questions. Tech or cybersecurity. Come and check me out Friday at noon, lunch and learn. I got a special on Thursday talking about the dangerousness of AI. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Let me drop that link in there. I'll get it later. But once again, I'm going lunch on Thursday, going lunch on Friday. So come through and check me out. Friday we're doing the OWASP top 10 attacks for large language models. Then we're going to talk about that from a risk register standpoint and a threat model standpoint. Once again, the OWASP top 10 for LLM. What's that would look like? Once again, shout out to Chris. He's always on the risk register. Then I try to take it to the next level. And what would a threat model look like for a particular risk register? And once again, for our documentation for 800-53, you need a risk register. And I think moderates, you need a threat model in there. Most companies don't have the threat model. Most companies not mature enough to have a threat model. So I got a couple videos on threat models if you want to check it out. PBO is trying to be at the top of this game. Once again, I want to appreciate everybody for joining us. Hopefully everybody's having a great 2026. Once again, drop any questions. Cybersecurity. Say winding on down. Man, I think PBO gonna go lay down. Space tacos. I guess a lot of things are going around. flu, influenza, different types and strains are going around. It seems like PBO very rarely leaves the house. So I appreciate you, Chris. Question. Oh, yep. Yeah, multi-factor is going to be in there because a lot of times before you get to your AI or your chat GPT, they want to make sure you the person logging on to your particular corporate laptop or agency laptop. From a work perspective, we want to double check to make sure that's you um, using our equipment. We're probably tracking you as part of our MFA, your location. So yeah, no, we definitely want to make sure that's you before you log into your corporate laptop. A lot of times, if you're using Copilot, that's going to be a corporate AI resource you're using through the corporation. So we want to make sure um, that's you before you log on. Full stream without a thunder punch would be nice. I don't know, man. I think that's part of it. If I wouldn't thunder punch, you wouldn't know it's me, man. Shout out to me. Shout out to me. We want to make sure we stay with the standard, Chris. We want to make sure the standard's the standard. Once again, I appreciate everybody for joining me. Well, as Chris would say, hitting that hour mark. Want to make sure it's something nice and easy. And especially too with your zero trust. MFA is definitely that zero trust. So we want to try to validate it's you, double check it's you, make sure it's your session, make sure it's your laptop, make sure you're at the proper location. So all that together is zero trust. So before you go into the AI, we want to make sure it's you and you're on the corporate. I appreciate you, Jeffrey Johnson. We want to make sure it's you, that's you, right? So that's part of that grind. So whew, it's Tuesday already. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining me. I'm gonna drop the link one last time, and we're gonna shut it on down. Once again, you know how to get me. I got to start checking my email. I just been out of source lately. We got to get it together in 2026. So once again, I appreciate everybody for joining me. Trying to get my YouTube hours back up, so I get my monetization back. So, but PBO does it for the love of it. I think I got more NIST videos than NIST. So shout out to me. So I've been doing GRC in this for probably 5 years now. So I'll keep it moving and grinding, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Once again, I'm out. Everybody have a great day. We know tomorrow's hump day. Let's get it. PBO got to go to the dentist tomorrow. So hopefully, I think I got to get x-rays. I'm going to be grumpy tomorrow. PBO don't like to be biting down on the x-ray bit. 2026 is going to be amazing. I don't know about amazing. It's going to be there. It's going to be there. Yeah, you can Toby, if you depending on your particular what you're using to transmit, I use Restream, and I'm going live on 3 platforms. I'm on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Even though I don't do Facebook. No, yeah, you can go live on LinkedIn. I probably got 20 videos out there. If you're bored, Toby, you check on my posts. But yeah, you can go. I guess I need to promote it more. Once again, I usually focus more on YouTube, but once again, I do it go live on it. If you have any questions, just ping me on LinkedIn. Tell me if you want to know any more. Once again, I use Restream to do it. I actually go do one-on-one meetings on LinkedIn. But yeah, you can go live on it. Let's see. How do you find your niche in cybersecurity? How did you? Oh, I looked into it. Long story short, I was consulting at DOD, and China was whooping up on everybody. I'm an interview guy. So they told everybody they're going to start doing this 800-53 security. I was working on a web team. I was a web admin doing Apache and Tomcat. I did Java programming for extra. And I was building those. So they showed me how to secure those. Now I'm going to interview the guy. Now I think he works for AWS. He actually taught me how to do that. And once again, we started building Apache and Tomcat. That was this 800-53 STIG security wise. So that's how I got onto it, Tyler and Humble. I just happened to be at DoD as a consultant doing some other work, and they were like, everybody's gonna get trained on security. I don't care if you're consultant, janitor, work for DoD, you work for a consultant. Everybody's getting trained at the same level. So even though I was a consultant, they trained me like I work for DoD. So that's actually how I got in it. I wish, I wish. Hopefully, I said tomorrow's Wednesday, Happy Hump Day, but who knows? Who knows? I'm excited for college football. Shout out to Indiana. Hopefully, we can take out Oregon. Let's see. Are you doing collabs with Cyber? I am not doing collabs with him. I'm behind. I'm supposed to be doing a course for him that I'm seriously late. Shout out to Chris Whitlock for helping me try to get back on task with that. That I'm struggling with that. So he did interview me. I am one of his I would call it professors, maybe teacher. He has this lab of training. He has probably 3 or 4 classes, I guess you could call them. So I'm doing an 800-53 class for him. So that's how the collab works. So hopefully we're definitely collab in the future. Once again, I am the trouble child, so I'm always late, Sergio. Shout out to Chris for helping me try to get back on task, because that's something I need to get on task for in 2026, and hopefully get my course done. I'm probably 80% of the way done. And I need to get that done because I know he promoted. I'm sure my users will shoot up with that collab with him. Once again, shout out for him. He did give me an opportunity. I just need to get back on task with that. I kind of got burnt out. We kind of changed it a little bit. That kind of threw me off, but no excuses. I need to get back and finish that particular course. That's one of my goals for 2026. That and the CISSP, to be honest, Sergio. I appreciate that question. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, you can definitely reach out to me and go on live too. Is probably once a month I get hit up by a recruiter. So go on live if you're trying to get known or show your skill set. I think is a great way to do that. And people assume you know more when you present. Not saying you don't, but it helps get your name out. I need to start promoting it more. There's a lot of things to promote stuff on LinkedIn that I don't do. I'm more of a YouTube guy. I never really focused on LinkedIn. That's probably one of more of my 2027. I really want to get my YouTube up to 10,000 users, which is a huge jump. Get my monetization back. And some other things. Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I probably, once I get it done, it's a super low cost course. So hopefully a few people support me buying it. And of course, give me feedback. We want to make the course better. One of my big things that I really want to do is we're talking about a GovRAMP, and inside my course, actually build the package. Let's find that package real quick. I think it was in the front. Actually go through and build a GovRAMP package in my course where we do a full SSSP, where we would do control implementation and use Planner inside Teams. Security assessment. Once again, use Teams, use Power Builder to actually build the spreadsheets, use templates to actually build the reports. Once again, use plan, action, and milestone. Once again, use Planner with SharePoint tables. Continuous monitoring. I'm an AWS guy, so I will use an AWS config, but I will push those findings over to BI Power Builder, so could all be in the team's dashboard. So once again, the 3PAO, your executives, you can have your dashboard once again in Power BI, have your planner in there, and they can click on stuff and see those dashboards for your particular GovRAMP package. Because I think a lot of times we talk about courses, but what can a course give you that you can take to work, right? So if you can do a GovRAMP package, a FedRAMP package, IRS 4812 package, and an IRS Pub 1075 package, and have templates and stuff to help you build that you would give to your CISO, your compliance director, and your privacy director. saying this is how we secure our documentation. And two is what's your gaps, what's your findings, what's your poem, and when you're going to have to fix it. And that will tell you your risk of your organization. Once again, show you how to do that inside teams, inside of a course, I think will be a valuable course. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Let's see. I appreciate that, Sergio. I try. Once again, I'm getting up there. So one of my things is make a little dinner money on YouTube and give back to community. I'm always bothering this guy, so come check us out on Study GRC. I'm usually in their Discord causing a problem, thunder punching people. So no, I appreciate that. Once again, I try to get my give back because 30 years ago I was looking for help. I couldn't find any, so I try to put my 2 cents into the ether, into YouTube, and on these cybersecurity streets. I'm out. Everybody have a nice week. I'll see y'all tomorrow on Hump Day. I'm about to do a little more AWS studying. I'm trying to get one more cert. I took one and I didn't pass one. I'm very disappointed in myself. I got all the ones I needed but one, so I'm trying to get this last one to switch over to the CISP, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm a little burnt out on AWS too. But a lot of times, once you're in that AWS mode, the certifications kind of stack on each other, right? If you get the associate architect, and you go to associate developer, 60% of the architect questions are on the developer questions, right? Then if you go cloud engineering, both of those, that's probably 60% of both of those are in the cloud engineering, right? So you only have to study for like 30% or 35% more before you get to. I am not on X. I am not on X. I am not on X, and I'm not on Twitter, and what's the other one? Everybody's on. I'm not on that one. I'm not on X. I can't even think tonight. That's on my list, maybe, Sergio, later. Once again, I'm out. I appreciate everybody. Which cert do I have in AWS? I have a cloud practitioner. I have the associate architect. I have the associate developer. I have the associate cloud engineering. I have the associate data engineering. Those ones I have, Toby. Once again, as a GRC person, and I do most of my work in AWS, I wanted to be comfortable talking to the cloud engineer, data engineer, the CTO, the architect. What's the best breed of architect? So that's the reason I got them. And I programmed for 10 years before I even got into cybersecurity. So I was doing that type of work for 10 or 15 years. So each one of those certs, I've done that in real life. In the 2000s, I got my MBA in 1995. So I've been in this game a long time, Toby. So yeah, I got those. Let's see. As always, thank you, people, for your time. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been letting ChatGPT. They upgraded thumbnail game, so I've been generating my thumbnails out with ChatGPT. Once again, using AI to help me more, getting comfortable with AI. Hopefully, hoping to start doing some agents here shortly. The other part, once I get the CISP done, is to get AWS's AI and machine learning certs. They have 3 of those, so I'm hoping to get 2 of those. One of them is the professional. That professional is no joke, but they have a practitioner and associate of machine learning. So I'm hoping, thinking about getting those too, Toby. Appreciate you, Chris. Definitely gonna check you out Thursday. If you go on Thursday, I'll definitely be in Study GRC Thursday. Oh my God! I knew you were gonna say that. Which one's? Probably the AWS machine learning, AWS security specialty, the CISP, and probably the CISA. Those are my 2025 goals. Let's see if I make it. So yeah, those are my goals. But we'll see. We will see. Once again, I'm out. I guess I need to do a video with my goals I'm shooting for in 2026. I hate putting that much peer pressure on myself, but I appreciate everybody. I try to be transparent out here in these cybersecurity streets. Once again, I've been in the game a long time. My MBA is as old as Mr. Whitlock. So got my MBA in 1995, I think. I need to double check. 95, 96. Got my bachelor's in computer science in 1990. So I appreciate you, Toby. Have a good night, man. Once again, everybody have a good night. I'm out. Thanks for joining me. Let's get everybody have a great hump day tomorrow. Let's get it. PBO got to go to the dentist, so he's already a little grumpy. I'm out once again. Thanks for joining me.